see, that's where everybody feels that we're looking to blame.
But I asked you
someone.
what happened. You said she deviated from the plan.
Well, and that's where, whenever the plan started going south, if you want to say, where we lost contact with Rachel because she did not show up at the location she was supposed to have gone to.
But our 2020 investigation found it's not quite as simple as the chief would like it to be. For starters, the state prosecutor for Tallahassee, Willie Meggs, says Rachel, as part of the drug court program, never should have been used as an informant to deal with suspected drug dealers.
One of the conditions of drug court, the drug court contract, says you are not to associate with anyone using drugs. So, I mean, that's the contract.
In fact, under Tallahassee Police Department rules, anytime a person under court probation is to be used as an informant, it requires the permission of Meg's office.
And were you aware that she was being turned into a confidential informant?
No, sir, we were not.
Should you have been told?
We should have been notified, yes, sir.
Well, hindsight, yes. Would it have been a good idea to call him, to let the state attorney know? Yes.
The undercover plan called for Rachel to meet two suspected drug dealers at this city park. She had $13,000 in marked bills to buy drugs and a gun.
The park would have been fine for a drug deal. When you introduce a weapon, it's an entirely different situation.
Former FBI agent Brad Garrett, an ABC News consultant who reviewed the case for 2020, says it was a flawed plan to use someone like Rachel who had no experience with weapons.
Does she know anything about weapons? Should she be taking a weapon into custody? I would say at the very least, if you wanted to do this, is that you tee it up, you have her make the phone call, you have the bad guys come into the picture, and you never have her go to them. You arrest them in the park, wherever it might be, and she's never exposed to the gun or the dope.
But in Rachel's case, the police had her make the buy. Police say the plan began to unravel after the two suspects changed the location of the meet from the park to this parking lot at a nursery just down the road. The shift in plans seemed to catch everyone off guard.
Was there a dry run?
No, I'm not aware that there was a dry run, no, sir.
Should there have been?
Not in all cases.
In this case?
In this case,
with a 23-year-old.
It could have been an option for us to look at, but was it done? No.
How simple would it be in this location to have taken her out here and say, look, this is what we're going to do. We're going to try to do this in the park. I don't want you deviating from the park no matter what they tell you. The park is the park. If they want to change it, they want to sell you this dope because they want the money, they'll eventually come to you.
The police last heard from Rachel at 6:45 p.m. when she called her police handler to say the two suspects now wanted to go to a third location down Gardner Road, 2 minutes away from the nursery. It was at this point that police lost Rachel. Her cell phone went dead and her hidden microphone was out of range.
Was she being watched by any of your officers?
There were officers in the area.
But was she being watched? Did anybody actually have an eye on her?
My understanding is no, that there was not eyes on at that point.
Your officers were not able to see her? They didn't follow her?
Not that I'm aware of.
It's beyond my imagination how the police lost them. It's clear no one followed her, and once they lost her, for whatever reason, she was just on her own.
Garrett says police should have called the whole thing off once Rachel followed the suspects to the third location.
Typically in a drug deal, if the source doesn't do what you tell them to do, safety is the key. It's just a drug deal. That's all it is.
So they should have moved in and aborted the whole thing.
This has stopped it.
Have you called them off?
I've called them off before.
Even if it blows the deal?
Well, who cares if it blows the deal? It's all about safety. It's all about people's lives. You know, do you want to get drugs and guns off the street? Of course you do. But they're always going to be there, and there's always tomorrow.
If she's going off the plan, and she's deviating, or she's nervous, or she's making mistakes, she's a 23-year-old recent college graduate, why didn't your officers move in right then and there and shut the whole thing down?
That would have been ideal.
Why didn't you do
that? Brian, again, the ideal situation.
No, but my question is, why didn't that happen? Have you asked that simple question?
I haven't asked that question because that's what we're finding out in the investigation.
Why wouldn't you ask that question? Isn't that the whole point here?
When I'm given a chance to ask that question, I will ask that question.
How long has it been since she died?
How long has it been? May the 7th.
Now, 2 months later, there's still a lot police don't know, including exactly what happened when Rachel Hoffman finally met up here with the two suspects. Police believe This is where she was executed when the two men apparently discovered she was a police informant. Rachel was killed with the handgun she was to have bought from the suspects.
Could have discovered her listening device, maybe had some information previously, prior, that she was a source, but something that night, I think, really triggered it for them. We have to kill this girl.
It took police almost 2 days to find Rachel. Her car and her body were discovered in a rural area 50 miles away. The police chief was quick to label Rachel as a known drug dealer, and there were stories in the local paper describing her as facing multiple felony drug charges, although she had not been charged or convicted of any such crime.
Let me make a note that it is not unusual to have known drug dealers or users offer to assist police in narcotics investigations. Rachel was no exception.
They basically exploited her. They basically made her out to be the next American gangster.
Her parents think that you're now smearing her reputation to protect
and
your own.
that is not, our hearts go out to the Hoffman family.
But here you are, you're essentially describing her as a criminal.
Yeah, yes.
She's been convicted of what? Nothing at this point.
She's
been convicted of a single crime?
No, well, as far as she was in a drug diversion program, but no.
But has she been convicted of a single crime?
To this point, no, sir, she has not.
And you're calling her a drug criminal?
I'm calling her a criminal.
So anybody in the drug court you think is a criminal?
If they are selling drugs, if they are using drugs, they are violating the law.
So a drug user is a criminal?
Yes, they are.
Police arrested the two suspected drug dealers, and prosecutors say they are expected to be indicted by a grand jury next week in connection with the murder of Rachel Hoffman. Whatever happens to them, Rachel's parents say there will be no justice until the police are also held to account.
They took our daughter from us by doing a botched job. No parent should ever have to go through this again.
Everything's different. I wake up feeling sad. I wake up sometimes tearful. I wake up knowing that my daughter is gone. They played this very underhanded, shady game with her, and it cost her her life.